Welcome everyone out there. My name is Brandon Campbell. I am the director of the Women's Business Center at Cornerstone Alliance. Cornerstone is led by myself, as well as Kristen Patchier, who is the WBC's manager. About the Women's Business Center. The Women's Business Center is a resource partner of the U.S. Small Business Administration that focuses on helping women, entrepreneurs of color, veterans, and low-income individuals in Berrien, Cass, and Van Buren Counties start and grow businesses through one-on-one business counseling, topical trainings, technical assistance, and helping them gain access to capital. Since the beginning of the WBC at Cornerstone Alliance, we started in 2004. We have helped over 6,500 small businesses in those three counties that I mentioned, helped 232 businesses start up or grow, helped them gain access to capital, $7.4 million in capital investments and capital infusion to help impact our economy. Of our clients, since we started in 2004, I'm proud to let everyone know that 33% of our overall clients are Black entrepreneurs that we have helped counsel and train since we started in 2004. About this event, on Saturday, June 19th, our nation will celebrate the Juneteenth holiday. Although the festivities shine light on the well overdue freedom of enslaved Africans back in the 1860s, it is also a reminder of barriers that Blacks have had to overcome to experience prosperity. But let's talk about wealth. In America, there are a few sources of gaining wealth. One is through inheritance, inherited wealth, owning property or land, owning a business or investing in a business, so meaning to own a piece of a business. So like other Americans, enterprising Black men and women have relied on entrepreneurship as a method to bring about social change and create generational wealth. Now, according to the Small Business Administration, there are over 2 million Black-owned businesses in the USA, which makes up 10% of the nation's small businesses. Also, according to a Harvard Business Review study, Black women are starting more business than any demographic in the USA. In fact, as I speak, 17% of Black women are in the process of starting a business. So you out there, if you're in the process of starting a business, contact us. We'll take care of you and give you some support and help. Why? So the question sometimes remains, why aren't businesses surviving? If 17% of Black women are starting businesses and is growing at a steady pace, at a fast rate, those are some questions. Why is it that Blacks make up 13% of the population, yet just only 10% of the nation's businesses? Now we see that we are now in the COVID-19 pandemic, which has crippled all businesses across this United States, especially those businesses owned by Blacks and women as well. Throughout all this, what we did was we reached out to these businesses early this year and wanted to get their feedback on what are some of those challenges. This is a small business survey that we conducted. And we found out that for minorities, especially Black-owned businesses, their challenges now, given that we're in the year 2 of the pandemic, is one being marketing and branding, business growth, and new business activity. Another piece of it is resources. And so this is kind of what has led us to create robust programming such as Black in Business. Despite all of that and what's happening, all the turmoil and the challenges, Black business owners are as resilient as ever before, as we've shown through history. And also are very still happy to be their own boss. So there is optimism still out there. Now today, we do not claim to know all the answers to these complex issues from a macro level, But today's Black in Business will focus on Black entrepreneurial experience in Southwest Michigan, present historical events, financial strategies, business triumphants, and how that all this that I just mentioned helps shape our entrepreneur ecosystem. We have panelists who are experts in their field, who will share their stories, provide tips and resources. Then we will provide an open forum for the attendees out there to ask questions, share thoughts and ideas. So the goal of this program is to keep it positively real. You get it? Positively real. Come up with some solutions and add value to you out there who are attending this so that we can help promote our region as a place for Black entrepreneurs to start and grow their business. Okay. I do ask, if you're on this call, if you're not speaking at this moment, please mute your phone or your computers. I do appreciate that. Another piece I like to also mention as well is that if you are an attendee, you should have received an email from Kristen Patchier through our CRM Vista Share. If you are interested in being onboarded and becoming a new client of the WBC, so you can take advantage of our resources and our programs. Well, without further ado, I'd like to introduce the first group of panelists. First, starting with Dathan Lumpkins. Dathan is the owner and president of Lumpkins Wealth Management. Dathan is a financial professional who helps private clients and private family foundations invest with the intent through planning and risk management. His core competencies include comprehensive planning, high net worth consulting, wealth transfer, and executive services, just to name a few. Prior to starting Lumpkins Wealth Management, Dathan was an investment manager at JP Chase Morgan, where he managed a team that oversaw $900 million in assets under management. Let me repeat that, $900 million worth of assets under management he oversaw. So that lets you know he knows his stuff. Dathan holds dual degrees from Harvard University, including a master's degree in business management. Thank you, Dathan, for being a part of this panel and the first ever Black in Business. Next, we have Laura Goos. Laura is the Director of HR, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at United Way, Southwest Michigan. She is the mayor pro tem of the city of St. Joseph. She's a graduate of Michigan State University with a bachelor's degree in employment relations. Laura has more than 25 years of experience in human resources. She has held leadership positions in various different forms, including having work experience at Whirlpool Corporation and Cascade Engineering. She is also born and raised in St. Joseph. Another thing that you may or may not already know about Laura, she is a passionate social justice advocate working on sustainability and equity issues for the city of St. Joseph and Southwest Michigan. Laura, thank you for being a part of this today. Now, I'd also like to introduce to you all Margaret Adams. Margaret is the WBC's business consultant. She is a lifelong resident of Benton Harbor. So she's been here her entire life. And she's very proud of it. And we're happy to have her be a part of the WBC and the Cornerstone family. In fact, she has worked at Cornerstone Alliance for 22 years. 16 of those years were spent as the WBC's program manager. Prior to Cornerstone Alliance, she spent 2 decades at the city of Benton Harbor. I'd like to welcome Margaret, AKA the godmother of entrepreneurship support here in this ecosystem, to talk to you about putting things in a historical context, to paint a picture from a historical perspective on the Black entrepreneurship ecosystem from the past. And as we work things up to the present, and then we talk about the future later on in this presentation. Also, at the end, well, if you have questions during this, please include those in the chat, And then we will call on you so you can ask your question, and that will be later on during this presentation. So without further ado, Margaret Adams.
Thank you, Brandon. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Cornerstone Alliance for giving us the opportunity to present this Black in Business. My perspective is coming from a little girl growing up in the area and remembering the various businesses that were established in my time. The first one is going to be Watson's Barbecue. In the 50s, Nona, or Mrs. Watson, was known for the best barbecue in Southwest Michigan. You could enter her smokehouse and submit your order and view the food cooking on the grill. This was a really fond memory for me because we lived next door. And on the weekends, we could smell the aroma of the food throughout the area. Another business, of course, was Bob and William Finch. They were the Finch brothers, and they were the shop for the home of the process. If you remember their hairstyle back in the 50s, and the fried, dyed, laid to the side, if you will, they owned a barbershop and a funeral home. Lady T's, Leela Flemings, was the first Black woman barber, and she would have gentlemen lined up waiting to sit in her chair to have their hair trimmed or what have you. Also, Maurice Bishop of All Time Pest Control. In the day, he was the first Black exterminator for the area, and of course, he was the staple in Benton Harbor, Benton Township. We also have Robbins Brothers Funeral Home. Brothers Raymond, Glenarvan, and Olive Robbins, they started the business in 1932, and they were the go-to funeral home for the Black community. Avery's Record Shop, which was Forrest Avery, gentleman that would keep the hottest hits going, and we would be there every week buying the latest hits from Motown. And we enjoyed the services that he provided, allowing us to listen to the records before we purchased them. It was just an awesome time remembering growing up in that era. We also had a gentleman by the name of John Williams. He was the justice of the peace in our area, as well as a notary. And in that day, that was a big thing. Rather than going to the courthouse, you could go to his location and get married and have documents notarized as well. Just some notable, I have about 3 notable entrepreneurs that I think we should mention. Johnny Foots Williams, he was a tailor, a salesperson, and a fashion model for the clothiers called Hal's Clothier. He worked there for 32 years. Later, he purchased the operation, and the business was entitled Johnny's. We also have Betty Shern. She was the first dry cleaning business that she opened in 1968. She ran the business for 30 years. And then she opened a second location on Napier Avenue in Benton Township. Last but not least, we have Dr. Hackley Woodford. He was a graduate of Western State Teachers College, now known as Western Michigan University. He was drafted in the Army, in the US Army. And as a flight surgeon, he was the Tuskegee Airman. He treated service members on the base in Alabama during World War II. He moved to Benton Harbor, Michigan, and opened a family practice. And over the years, he delivered more than 3,000 babies. He led the charge in desegregating Mercy Hospital. And he went on to serve as the chief of medicine and chief of staff at Mercy Hospital. I think that this was awesome back in our day. These were trailblazers, if you will, that opened businesses in our area. And we looked up to them because growing up as a child, that gave me an opportunity to say, I can be anything that I want to be. I had these examples in front of me to be able to glean from them and to start my own business. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Margaret. Quick question. Can you describe to us just briefly Where are these businesses located? Just give us an image, paint a picture for us. Where are these businesses located? Where was the thriving spot, so to speak, here in the Benton Harbor area?
Okay. Well, Watson's Barbecue was on Highland Avenue, out in Benton Township, and the home. Mrs. Watson, they had a home, and then the smokehouse was right next door to their home, and so it was awesome because we could look right and see all of the patrons coming and leaving the establishment, and of course eating the barbecue, which was an awesome task. We just, there was nothing better. I mean, I don't discredit any of the services that are out there now, restaurants that are selling barbecue, but she was number one in growing up. Finch Barbershop, of course, they were also on Highland Avenue, Crystal Highland Avenue, out in Benton Township, and they were the staple for people went to get their haircut. That was the main barbershop that people went to get their hair cut, and of course the process, that style was in that era. Robinson Brothers Funeral Home, of course, that was the Black funeral home that everyone went to for their loved ones to be taken care of. And it was, you just knew they were located on Fair Avenue, right where the Benton Harbor and Benton Township separates. And so that was an awesome business as well. And they operated that business from 1932 up until all of their deceased, but then their son, Doug, took over the business in later years and operated it as well. Let's see, Avish Record Shop, they were on Main Street in Benton Township. And John Williams was the Justice of the Peace. He was also on Main Street in Benton Township.
Well, that's awesome. You know, it just, I love the imagery when you think about all the places where these businesses were located. You know, when I'm passing through downtown and Fairplain and other areas of Benton Harbor, you know, it gets me to thinking about just what the energy was like. So
that was only a few. There were many, over 50 businesses that I have listed, but of course it would take much more time to try to list them all. But those were just some of the main ones that I remember as a child growing up and watching thrive in our area.
Okay, well, awesome. Thank you very much, Margaret.
You're welcome.
Next, I'd like to have Dathan take over the presentation to talk about his experiences, but also sharing some financial strategies and some real data to help us understand where we are as Black business owners here in the area. Take it away, Dathan.
Perfect. Brandon, can you see my screen? All right, perfect. Well, I really appreciate the opportunity to share something that's not only important to me personally and professionally, but to us as a community. I've been fortunate in my career to manage billion-dollar teams across both retail and institutional, and I've seen some things that have worked for small businesses and some things that have not worked. My goal really today is to provide you some insights and best practices, but more importantly, to give you a framework of tangible ideas that you can apply to your business and think thoughtfully about how to create wealth through your business. You know, Mark Philpart is Managing Director Policy Link. That's a national nonprofit that focuses on advancing racial and economic equity. And I think the question that he posed sets the tone for what I want to share today. His question was, how can this experience during the pandemic be like a cocoon opportunity for us as a nation so that we emerge in a way that allows for businesses to be on a different footing than they were before? And so hopefully today, we're able to accomplish that and put small business, particularly Black-owned business, on a different footing. Now, we've all heard the statistics about the failure rate for small businesses. As a matter of fact, Bureau of Labor Statistics highlights that 70% of businesses fail in the first 10 years. Well, those numbers are very different for the Black-owned businesses. As a matter of fact, 80% of Black-owned businesses fail in the first 18 months, okay? And then there's the pandemic, okay? Prior to the pandemic, 58% of Black-owned businesses were in financial distress compared to 27% white-owned businesses. And then last year, over a 3-month period, you had a 41% decline in Black-owned business compared to 17% decline in white-owned businesses. Now, the Black Chamber of Commerce highlighted that 75% of Black businesses saw a spike in revenue after the murder of George Floyd, but then it quickly fell and dropped back to pre-COVID levels. The reason why these numbers are important is because if, as a community, we don't change our trajectory, then median Black household wealth is projected to hit 0 by 2053. Currently, it's at 24,000. Median white household net worth is at 188,000. And by 2024, we're projected as a community to own 60% less wealth than we did in 1983. Okay, so first thing I want to state is that, Black business is not a fad. We are very much a part of the foundation and the fabric of this nation historically. You heard Margaret talking about it. And so the fruits of our labor should reflect that reality. So I want to give you this framework: revenue, investment, and income, okay? The first takeaway that I want to give you is that your revenue does not equal your income. That's the first thing I'm gonna tell you. Your revenue does not equal your income, okay? And I can't talk about building wealth until I talk about building value, helping you build value in your business. So first thing is, the second takeaway is that your ability to create wealth is directly proportionate to your ability to create value in your business. I'm gonna say that one more time. Wealth creation is directly proportionate to your ability to create value in your business. So I highlighted 3 areas: selling products, operations, cash management. These are generally 3 vital areas of most businesses. There are a lot of things that are important, but there are not a lot of things that are vital. These 3 are very vital. You need to have consistent processes. You need to have systems in these 3 areas. If you're strong in sales, but you're weak in operations and you're strong in cash management, you may be dealing with customer service issues, compliance issues, higher than average customer attrition. If you're strong in sales, you're strong in ops, but you're weak in cash management, you may not have a good handle on your expenses. You may have just as much money going out the door as you do coming in the door, okay? Now, if you're weak in sales, but you're strong in ops and you're strong in cash management, then you have people just kind of waiting around for something to happen because there isn't any revenue coming through the door, okay? Now, you've got revenue coming in the door. What do you do with it? I'm not giving you theory. I'm giving you what I actually do. So under cash management, you see revenue, profits, owner's comp, tax, and operating expenses. I have 5 separate business accounts, 5 separate business bank accounts at one bank. So when the revenue comes in, I drop it into the real revenue bucket. And from that bucket, I start shifting capital into the profit account, owner's comp, taxes, and operating expenses. Here's how that helps me. When a lender says, Dathan, how much profit have you had in your business year to date? I print off that one bank statement and I hand it to them. If they say, Dathan, what's been your compensation from the business year to date? Not your revenue, but your compensation. I print off that one bank statement and I hand it to them. Relative to taxes, this structure of segregating capital allows me to have a systematic process of saving for taxes. That way we're not scrambling around in April trying to figure out how we're going to pay our tax bill. And next thing you know, you've got a tax lien from the IRS and you're on a payment plan, and it complicates your ability to get loans going forward, okay? Also, it helps me to show income. Most business owners aren't paying themselves. They're not showing income. And if you're not showing income, you've got a problem getting financing, okay? So this addresses all of those things. Now, what do you do with your profits? Your profits are what you use to create your wealth buckets, okay? Now, These are just percentages. I've shown you a sliding scale. I've worked with business consultants. I've worked with my CPA to come up with specific percentages for my business. It's going to be different for all of yours. Okay. Now, during strong quarters, you may have a higher allocation going to profits. In weaker quarters, you may have a lower allocation going to profits. Okay. So these aren't set in stone. Now, what do you do with your profits? Your profits is what you use to create wealth. Now, I'm not going to be able to go through all of these in detail, but I'll highlight a few. Solo 401k, which is also called the individual 401k. Let's say you worked for a company, you left the 401k behind, you launched your business, okay? Well, you can't get access to that money because if you're not 59 and a half, then you pay taxes and you pay a 10% IRS penalty to get access to your money. Well, what you can do if you've already left your employer, you can roll that over into an individual 401k. Now you're the trustee and the participant, and you can take a loan from yourself without paying the taxes, without paying a penalty, and use that in your business. So now you're financing yourself, and you can pay yourself back at an interest rate that you set. Now it can't be zero, but you set the interest rate, okay? So this can be a bridge if you're brand new, you haven't been able to get financing from a lender to reinvest in your business, okay? Second one, backdoor Roth IRA. Let's say your spouse is still working for a company, has W-2 income, you're running the business. You file jointly on your taxes. One of the things that you can do if you cannot directly contribute to a Roth is contribute to a traditional IRA and immediately convert it to a Roth IRA. And in theory, because there's no gains, there wouldn't be any taxes. However, you have to be careful of the pro rata rule. What that means is if you have IRAs anywhere else, that can be used in a calculation to determine how much your contribution is taxable. So what you need to do is talk to your advisor, talk to your CPA to see if that makes sense for you. You've got a traditional IRA. You've got real estate. You can use your profits, purchase real estate. Let's say, for example, you purchase the building that your business sits in, and you create an LLC that owns that real estate. Now you can pay rent to your LLC and get a tax deduction on the rent that you're paying. So you can get a tax deduction for paying yourself rent. I see dental practices do that. I see physician practices do that. Okay, so you see the progression. Revenue created some investments that created income. Now let's say you purchased a building and you're leasing space to other businesses. Now they're paying you rent. You pay the note and you take the difference. If there's positive cash flow, you can drop that back into your profit bucket. That can be bonus money. That can be quarterly bonuses for your staff. Life insurance. I've seen small business leverage life insurance as deferred comp. And so you defer a portion of your profits into the life insurance. That cash value snowballs. It gives you tax-free access to your money during retirement because it's considered an advance of your death benefit, not income. Securities-based lines of credit, and then succession planning, cashing out. Now, what you're able to sell your business for is going to be a multiple of your revenue. Okay, so if you've got systems in place around your sales, your operations, and your cash management, people will pay you top dollar for your business. This is where we fall short in the Black community in terms of business ownership, because we haven't gotten out of the survival phase. You built a team, you're in the survival phase, and then you scale the business. Well, in the survival phase, you're still trying to figure things out. You're still trying to automate and scale the business. Well, nobody wants to buy a job. They want to buy a business. And so your ability to generate consistent systems and processes across your sales, operations, and cash management builds equity. It builds value. In my business, if I generate $1 million in revenue, that's how much I can sell my business for, $1 million. But if that same million is recurring, in other words, absent of my efforts, I can sell that same business for $2.5 million. That's where we really miss it, in my opinion, in the Black community in business ownership. Now, you have your revenue, you've used your revenue to create investments. Those investments have created long-term lifetime income. And then when you sell your business, let's just say, for example, you get this lump sum. Well, you get this lump sum, and let's say they pay you out. Let's say you get half up front and they pay you out over a 2 or 5 year period or whatever is agreed upon. Well, you've got that lump sum and you've got that income coming from those individual wealth buckets That's where we start talking about creating legacy. That's where we start talking about trust accounts for your kids. And I think if you focus on building value, having a solid plan around your cash management, and using your profits to generate wealth, then I think we can accomplish what Mark Philpott was talking about small businesses being on a different footing going forward. Okay, so in the interest of time, let me go ahead and show you some resources. These are all of the things that I use. Minority Supplier Development Council. I've gone through their process. I'm halfway through it right now. Best thing I've ever done for my business. They're a division of the Department of Commerce. They can help you with contracts and consulting and access to different markets. This is probably one of the best things that I've done for my business. Cash management resources on learning about individual 401ks. Keep in mind, you can't do an individual 401k if you have employees. Most small businesses are solopreneurs. So no more employees than just say you like your spouse, but this will give you some education around that. And they have, Wells Fargo has affiliates that have cloud-based business plan tools. They'll help you with the analytics, they'll do the math. That way, if you need to put together a business plan to go to a lender to get financing, you can put your best foot forward. QuickBooks Essentials, those 5 business accounts. I plug in my transactions into QuickBooks every month. It takes me 20 minutes. I share that with my CPA. My CPA can see it, and he can advise me on how to mitigate taxes in real time. Fiverr, I've used them for marketing. This is like marketing on a budget, right? They've done digital brochures for me that I would have had to pay like $1,000 for. I paid them like $50. Same high quality content. And I think the turnaround time was like 3 days. And the last thing I'll leave you with is a couple books. One of the areas of focus of my master's is business strategy. Traction by Gino Wickman might be the best book I've ever read on business strategy. I'm actually reading it twice. The second one is The Business Owner's Guide to Financial Freedom, What Wall Street Isn't Telling You. Imagine this. Imagine owning real estate in your Roth IRA. Like, imagine that, okay? This book talks about those types of strategies and many more, things that we haven't been exposed to. So I'll leave you with this quote. This is one of my favorite quotes by Jeb Blunt, the author of Fanatical Prospecting. He said, if you don't have a plan, you'll become part of someone else's plan. And you can either take control of your life or someone will use you to enhance theirs. It's your choice. So with that, Brandon, I will toss it back to you.
Wow. Thank you very much, Dathan. That's a wealth of information. And I'm sure a lot of you all out there have questions. Please do include those in the chat. We'll be calling on you to ask your questions and give us your feedback. I do want to just mention that that's a great resource that you mentioned about getting certified as a minority business enterprise. In fact, we had a webinar a month or so ago, a couple of months ago, where we featured a business consultant from that organization that talks about getting certified as a minority business enterprise, because that's one of our goals at the WBC and Cornerstone Alliance, to get more Black-owned businesses certified as minority business enterprises. But we have that webinar on our website, so do go to cornerstonewbc.com, go to our resource library, and you can download that webinar and you can view it at your leisure. Thank you very much again, Dathan. Now, let me introduce Laura. And Laura is going to be openly talking about her activities as an advocate of Black people, but also Black businesses in the area as well as provide some insight from her perspective. Thank you very much, Laura.
Well, I have to be honest, following Dathan and Margaret, I'm not sure that I'm in the right order here. I actually was taking copious notes from the recommendations that you had, Dathan, so thank you for that. And Margaret, I have to say, the history of the area is remarkable, and I remember so many of those businesses growing up myself in Southwest Michigan. So I do want to talk about being an advocate and supporting Black-owned businesses and women-owned businesses. But I also want to talk a little bit about my own personal history here in Southwest Michigan. I was born and raised, as Brandon said, in the St. Joseph area. I was actually born at Mercy Hospital. So I appreciated the nod to Mercy Hospital, Margaret. That was very nice. And I left, as many people do, after high school. I went on to college in East Lansing and then moved to Grand Rapids, Michigan. So always based in Michigan. And I came back in 2005 working with Whirlpool Corporation. And one of the things that has always been personally important to me is the strength of community, because I think that what I heard from Margaret when she was talking about the history resonates so much with me personally, because it speaks to the community of Southwest Michigan. And I would be negligent in not mentioning that in Southwest Michigan, especially between St. Joseph and Benton Harbor, we have had a disparate gap, and not only in terms of who's represented in each community, because we have not had a good mixture of diversity on both St. Joseph and Benton Harbor. And I think that when I moved back, it was a big concern of mine. I hadn't lived here in many years. I was raising 2 small children with my husband, and I wanted them to experience a much more richly diverse community. And it was something that I personally felt that we needed to be active in supporting. And one of the things that Brandon actually talked about with the panelists as we were preparing what we might say, he talked about something that really, I think, articulates this situation that I'm representing a lot better. He talked about, these are macro level issues. These are national, worldwide issues that we're talking about here. We're talking about how to close the racial wealth gap. We're talking about, how do we foster job creation, bringing access for different services to communities. And in my opinion, the way that Brandon described it to us in the panelists discussion was really, these are macro issues, but we need to talk about them in a micro sense. And that's where our community comes in. Our community needs to be together on these things. And so as a white person, I don't have the same lens in terms of racial disparity. I could potentially just ignore the entire situation if I so choose. But I believe strongly, and I know many, many people feel the same way, that it is inherent in the betterment of all of us to recognize the problems before us and to try to be part of the solution. And so why do I advocate for Black-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, marginalized groups of any way? It's because it makes the entire community much stronger when we understand each other. So Dathan very wisely has already talked about the racial wealth gap. That is one of the number one reasons that I seek out to support Black-owned businesses. I'd also like to talk a little bit about the strengthening of local economies. In both my work in human resources, but more so as a city commissioner for the city of St. Joseph, strengthening our local communities, our local economies, is a way in which that we can strengthen our schools, our education systems, so that the benefits repeat, right? Generation after generation. So if we have strong Black-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, we're creating jobs locally. As I really liked what Dathan said about, you're not creating a job, you're creating a business or a revenue stream. Those can be passed on. Jobs you can't really pass on, right? So if you're just creating one job for yourself, you're not really creating something that can be handed down. But when you create businesses, those can be generational. And certainly the wealth that comes from that can be generational. So strengthening local economies through business, I mentioned schools, but also very selfishly from a city commission perspective, it creates revenue for the city or the municipality that can be reinvested in things like water, sewer systems, streets. And finally, as I mentioned before, it brings access to communities for a variety of different services. Margaret listed a ton of those services, whether it's food service, hair services, medical services, and so many others. And so each of us has an opportunity to focus on businesses that support the community that we're in. And I don't mean just your zip code, I mean Southwest Michigan or the Tri-County area. What I would recommend strongly, if you are not sure how to support, you want to make sure that you're checking out the resources from the WBC. There's tons of information online, which I will not recite websites here. I'll send to Brandon the ones that I usually check out when I'm trying to find out information in my local area or when you go visit. The last thing that I'll really add here, and I'd be happy to answer any questions, is one of the most important lessons that I've learned is that we need to lead with an understanding and an empathy of the history of the community that we're in, the need for healing and understanding, no matter who you are or what you're bringing forward, that there has been issues that need to be recognized, and that it's inherent for all of us to work together to make sure that we're projecting a positive, supportive, caring community, because it grows us stronger together. And I will borrow a line from a fellow commissioner from Benton Harbor, Edward Isom, and he says, "Now is the time." I've learned to say that a lot lately. And I want to just thank you for letting me be part of the panel. And I'm here to answer any questions later on in the segment. Thank you. Turning it back to Brandon.
Thank you very much, Laura. That was a fine presentation and a lot of insights from your perspective. And thank you very much for those tips as well, too. And the goal is for us to unite and work together to help make Southwest Michigan a better place economically, but also socially as well, too. So thank you. So next, I'd like to turn it to our small business success stories. So we have, as Margaret mentioned in her presentation earlier, there has been a lot of different successful businesses throughout the history of Southwest Michigan communities, right? And so that gives you an idea that this is a place for, it was a place for businesses, for business creation, job creation, wealth creation back then for Black entrepreneurs. And it is today as well. And so I have the pleasure of introducing 3 of the most successful Black business owners here in the area. First, I'd like to introduce Roger Lange. Roger is the owner of Lange Investigation and Consulting and Security Service. His business is located in Benton Harbor. He is a WBC client. He's a proud WBC client. He has 4 decades of experience in law enforcement. He spent 17 years as a Michigan chapter president for the Midwest Gang Association, during which he taught and lectured on gangs and conspiracy cases. He started his business in 2013. Lange Investigation Consulting Services provide security services to 25 plus clients, while also providing private investigation service on a number of civil cases and serving as a process server agency as well as a mediator. This business started with just he and his wife and now has 30 employees and is steady growing. And so thank you very much, Roger, for being on this panel. And now I'd like to introduce you to Vonetta McGinnis. Vonetta is the owner of Victory Counseling Services. She's a licensed, she's a licensed master in social work. She's also an adult, child, and family therapist as well. Vonetta has over 10 years of experience of working in counseling private practice. Also, she has a bachelor in science in child development from Michigan State University and a master's in social work from Western Michigan University. Thank you very much, Vonetta, for being a part of this discussion. Sean Todman. Sean is the owner of Renaissance Athletic Club in Ben Harbor. The RAC, as it is affectionately called, has won numerous awards for the quality of its services, including Best Yoga Studio and Best Spa by the Herald Palladium in 2016, and Best Place to Work. Sean has personally received numerous awards and accolades, including Merit Scholarship at the University of Southern California, where he's receiving his Master in Science and Entrepreneurship and Innovation. Also, the Southwest Michigan Chamber Entrepreneur of the Year Award, and also the Patrick employer from the Office of the Secretary of Defense. Sean has a BA in sociology from Georgetown University. And as I mentioned, he will be receiving his master's at USC in SoCal. And so I'd like to open it up for Roger to tell us more about his story and his success story and how we can be like him when we grow up.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you very much. But I'd first like to thank the WBC. They were very instrumental in getting me to where I'm at today. Margaret Adams worked closely with me, putting me in contact with those that I needed to tell me and show me what I needed to have done. After my law enforcement career, I sat at home and I ended up asking my wife, what should I do now? What do I do now? And she said something that really surprised me. She said, do what you know. And, you know, that actually made sense. What I know is security and investigations. So I started looking into how do I get involved in that? How do I break into that field? Well, what I did was I made contact with the WBC, and they welcomed me with open arms. They had mentors that they brought in for me to sit down and meet with. They then, started telling me about the various licenses that I need. I need a license for private investigation. I need a license for security. Currently, we are licensed not only in Michigan, but also Indiana. The one thing that I was very adamant about, though, I was not going to let race be my handicap. I wanted to move on and forward on my merits with the belief, as my parents had always told me and my brother, that you can be and do anything you set your mind on. Do not ever let anyone tell you what you can or cannot do. So with that, I then started doing some research on what would it take. And this is part of the things that before starting any kind of business, you really need to sit down and do some research. What all is involved with what you're doing? I found out what licenses was required. I found out, as you get those licenses, before you get the license, before the state will license you, there's some other requirements. Insurance, liability insurance, workers' comp insurance, if you're going to have employees. There's the various organizations that you can join that will help you move along as well. When we first started this company, it's a family-owned business. Started, as Brandon had said, my wife and I, we started the business. Currently, my son, my oldest son, he ended up leaving Whirlpool and coming with the company, truly making it a family-owned business. And he's my director of operations now. He handles most of the stuff. He always tells me, Dad, I can handle this. I can take care of this. He has been a blessing to me, having him by my side here. The licensing is a very intricate part. You need to know what reporting, the reporting that's involved with all the licenses as well. There's a quarterly employee roster that you have to submit. There's there's quarterly financial that you have to make. You've got to pay your federal taxes, state taxes, and you have to make sure you pay all those, or you can be in the hole and be a statistic in the newspaper or in the news, period. There's also a point where if you absolutely need to get a loan to get your business going, I'm strictly for that. But if at all possible, if you could take and without getting a loan, that's one of the things I pride myself on with my business, is that I never got any loan. I built this company from my pocket and just a little bit at a time. You can't be too aggressive, but you still have to be steadfast and keep moving, pushing forward. If for some reason I decided today, of course that wouldn't happen because my son now would take over the company, but if I decided today that I didn't want to do this anymore, I don't owe anyone. I can just step back and enjoy my benefits, enjoy what this company has done for me. Giving an opportunity to work in this community has been another blessing for me. I was first in the in law enforcement sector. Now I'm in the private sector. There's a lot more now that I can do in the private sector for this community than I could actually do when I was in law enforcement, because I now have the perspective of both sides. Working with the private investigation and the security companies, my initial thought was that I was not going to, my initial worry, I should say, was that I'm wondering, how do I get clients? How am I going to build clients? Now, my concern now is getting employees to cover the clients that I have. And we have to be strong enough to realize our weaknesses, but also be strong enough to know that whatever you put your mind to, you can accomplish. We can, it takes hard work, dedication, and commitment, long hours. This is not a 8 to 5 job. If you go into business, it's not an 8 to 5 job. You're in the business for yourself, being your own boss. Now you're going to see exactly the people that you work for, what they went through as your boss. They weren't there 8 to 5. It's a round the clock. You're fielding calls late at night. You're out in the field late at night. Early in the morning, you're up taking more calls, planning for that next night, planning for that night to come. And it's dedication, commitment, and hard work, strictly hard work. Brandon, listening to the first speakers you had, I was taking, like Laura said, I was taking dubious notes here. And I mean, there was some stuff that I think it's Dathan, that's him. Sorry, Dathan. Sorry about that. But while he was talking, I've already gone online to the Audible books, and I've ordered the Traction. So I've got that already downloaded in my audio. While I'm driving, I'm going to be listening to that. So, and that's the other thing too. Make yourself gain a network where you're going to have people that you can pull on and share information, how to do this, how to do that. And don't be bashful. Don't be bashful in asking the questions. How did you do this? And please, whatever you do, do not be restrictive that you so protective of yours that you don't want to share anything. Okay, we're all in this together. There's enough for all of us here. And share the wealth. Share the wealth. And with that, I'll defer and turn this back over to Brandon.
Thank you very much, Roger. Now I will have Vonetta, who's a licensed master social worker and adult child and family therapist, to take you from here.
Okay, thank you for having me, Brandon. Wow, I've really enjoyed the program so far. Just the knowledge from the panels that they're sharing with us is priceless. So thank you, Brandon, for having this. It's really important that we share the information so we're not stuck, and so we can move forward in wherever stage we are in our business. So again, thank you, and I really appreciate being here today. So my assignment is to share my story, the journey that I experienced with starting a business. But first, as Brandon said, I am in the mental health field, and I have a counseling private practice called Victory Counseling Services, and we are located in the city of Benton Harbor. So basically what we do is we provide counseling for individuals, groups, and families. We just kind of help them deal with their trauma, learn different coping skills, and just be able to feel fulfilled and move forward in their lives. So just a little bit about me. I am a native of Benton Harbor. I was born and raised here, left to go to college, Michigan State, go green, Laura. Yeah, so we went to Michigan State. So just growing up in Benton Harbor, you see a lot in the inner city. So as a child, you see your friends and family experience certain life traumas. So just looking back, I noticed that like the way we dealt with things in the community was to basically not deal with them. So there wasn't like any conversation about like traumatic experiences that we would experience, or even people coming into the schools. I remember there was a murder, so we didn't have any, like with one of our classmates in 6th grade. So that's just a lot for a child to deal with. So I just don't recall like talking about it or being able to process that at a young age. So just one of my missions were to just be in the mental health field, being an advocate and being the voice to let the vulnerable community know that mental health is okay, and talking to a professional about just some of the life experiences that we have is important and it's essential. So as I graduated from school, I knew I wanted to start a private practice. However, I didn't have any counseling experience, so I went to work for a counseling private practice, just as a contract worker to gain clinical experience. So as I gained the clinical experience, I decided that it was time for me to step out and start my own practice. So throughout my time working for the private practice, I communicated to them and I shared with them what I wanted to do as far as starting my own practice. But when I started my own practice, I launched out and they sued me. So they told me they weren't going to sue me. So, okay, we support you. We're not going to sue you. I did have to sign a contract, and it was a non-compete contract. However, it was some legal things I had to go through initially when I started. So I contacted the Women Business Center and just kind of shared with her what I was going through. And I just want to sing praises to the WBC because they have everything, like all the resources that you need to start a business. So I knew this about myself. I knew how to counsel. I knew mental health, behavioral health, but I had no idea of how to start a business and how to run a business. So when I went to the Women Business Center, she gave me just a checklist of things I need to do as far as picking the entity that I need to start, getting my license, how to write a business plan. So that's the first thing then I had to find an attorney because I was being sued in the process. So just going through that, like the first year was like really challenging. So I needed a counselor myself during that period. So I was able to get over that hump. And just some of the things that I believe helped me throughout this process is just being able to find mentorship. So I was able to find, although I learned the business from the contract that I had, I didn't use them as a as a mentor. I found someone else that had a counseling business. So they just kind of basically walked me into the stages and the steps of what is it that I need to know as far as developing clear systems with the business. So and then it was just a good support for me as far as just having someone to bounce ideas off of and to see how they're developing different aspects of their business and how to develop or how to get clients or how to find those clients that you want to serve. I think that's an important aspect, finding mentorship and being under someone that has more experience than you so you can learn from them. Another thing I believe that has been helpful is just being able to set yourself apart. So developing relationships with your clients or the people who you want to send you clients. So as I was working for the private practice, I was developing relationships with people in certain positions. So they already, when I started my business, they already knew who I was. They knew my name. They knew the clientele that I worked with. So when it was time for me to start, I just had to tell them, hey, this is what I'm doing. So I was able to receive clients just from building relationships in the past. So if you know that you're going to start a business, you can start now with talking to people, sharing with them like some of your ideas, some of the things that you're going to do. And then when that time happens, they know who you are. And then also like with me, I am an introvert, so I'm not a people person. I just like to be by myself. So, you have to stretch yourself and put yourself out there. So being active in social media, that was one thing that helped me as well. So letting people know, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is the program that I'm offering. Come see me if you're struggling. So just stepping beyond like your normal personality. So you just can't let who you are, your personality, your background, you can't let any of that like hold you back. You have to stretch yourself and get to that place where you feel uncomfortable. But like marketing and advertising is important if you're if you're wanting to start a business. And then the last tip that I wanted to share that has been helpful for me, and again, just not knowing how to run a business, you learn as you go, and then you make mistakes as you go. So the financial part, knowing how to manage your finances, and Dathan, he touched, oh my God, he touched a lot on building wealth and revenue and your income. So I didn't know any of that in the beginning. So I had to do some research and figure out a way to manage my profit and my loss, my revenue. So I'm still learning that, but I believe that helps to know what's going in, what's coming in, what you have going out, and paying yourself and being in the correct tax bracket is important. So just overall, there are a lot of different components to running a business. So being prepared and getting those resources that will help you with those different aspects of your business are important. And then you can let me know if you have any questions as well.
Thank you very much, Vonetta. It's always a pleasure working with you. And you know, I'm an advocate of mental health. And this is my own personal belief as an entrepreneur in my own right. I believe that if you are an entrepreneur, you probably, I'm not gonna say you should seek help, but be open to seeking help because it can get dark and lonely at times. And so we have therapists
Absolutely.
like Vonetta who can assist you as you go through that journey. It can be a scary journey, I will admit. So thank you very much, Vonetta. Last but certainly not least, Sean Todman.
Well, thank you, Brandon, and Kristen as well. It really is an honor to be a part of today's event and support the Women's Business Center as well as Cornerstone Alliance. Before I get started, just want to say, Laura, I feel your pain in following up two really great panelists in Roger and Vonetta. So I'll try to do as well as you did. But thankfully, I think my comments do reinforce the great content that you have heard already this afternoon. And I also have detailed notes myself. So thank you all for sharing some really great information. Now, there are a lot of things that come to mind when I think about the keys to successfully launching RAC. But in the interest of time and also to kind of stay in theme with today, I'm really going to focus on framework from a macro level. And because there is, a relatively short amount of time to get in a lot of information, the first thing I do want to say is please do not hesitate to reach out to me, after today's event, anytime in the future, if there's any way that I can support anyone who's a part of today's event in pursuing an entrepreneurial goal. The framework that I'm going to share is a significant part of business sustainability as well. I think some of the things that Dathan touched on are really important. It's not just about getting the business launched, but keeping the business going and thriving and scaling, over 10, 15, 20 years and beyond. My hope is my time will help you bridge the gap from idea to execution, which will allow you to tackle some of the important issues that were brought up earlier, specifically in wealth and community building, and helping those goals become more attainable for us as individuals, as well as Southwest Michigan. I am going to start with one key, which is don't hesitate to reach out to me. Or I don't want to speak for folks on the panel, but I'm assuming that if you're here, you're also open to that as well. I say that it's starting with a key because it's probably the most foundational piece of advice that I can share. That's do not be afraid to ask for help. Something that's always struck me when you hear about, success stories and various industries is you hear the term self-made be thrown around a lot. Personally, I don't believe there are many truly self-made success stories. And that's because everyone needs support. And at the very least, needs to be given an opportunity to show and prove themselves. Right. And so just by definition, you need at least one other person to believe in you or to give you a chance to be able to show what you can do. So, when you hear that term, just have that kind of perspective in the back of your mind. And if you don't ask for help and support when you need it, you're just going to limit your ability to turn your goals into realities. And so I know sometimes it can be challenging. It can be scary to approach people, especially people that you may not have a strong personal relationship with. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, what's more important to you? And I think asking for help when you need it and asking for support when you need it will be one of the most foundational things that you can do to get from where you are to where you want to be. With that said, I'm sure there are a lot of people listening that think to themselves, there's nobody that I can reach out to for help. And I do understand that feeling. But because I understand that feeling and I'm fortunate enough to, be on the other side of launching a business, I can tell you that that's not true. I am here to support you to the best of my ability. Brandon is through the Women's Business Center is clearly here to support you by, organizing this event. Cornerstone Alliance and the Women's Business Center clearly here to support. On a bit of a side note, I would say Rob Cleveland, who is president of Cornerstone Alliance, is one of my most trusted advisors and support people, not just here in the community and not just in business, but in life. And so I can, hopefully he'll be okay with me sharing, that great relationship that I have with him. And I have no doubt that he's willing to support, folks that are here as well. And listening to the great panelist speakers today. These people have demonstrated an ability and a desire to support you. So reach out and make the most of these opportunities that are available to you. And lastly on that, just because you don't know anyone else right now that you can go to for help and support and guidance, doesn't mean they're not out there. So you just have to use your means to go search for them. So I just said a term, your means. And as Brandon talked about in my intro, I am in the process of finishing up my master's program at USC. And in that program, we talk a lot about essentially the ability for us to successfully launch a business is through your means. And in this framework, your means are defined as who you are, what you know, and who you know. And your means is really the centerpiece of your path to success. So let's start with who you are. Being an entrepreneur is about identifying opportunities and trying to deliver solutions. So think critically about the things that you're passionate about. Pay attention to others and their experiences in those spaces. Is there a common frustration? Is the potential of whatever space you're looking at being maximized? Is there room for improvement? And I ask these questions to say, don't undervalue or underestimate the things that you perceive, the way that you think, or the ideas that come from those, because that is the core of the entrepreneurial mind, and it is valuable. So treat it with the value that it deserves. Take it seriously and try to create opportunity from it. Rack's creation was born out of frustration in existing facilities. My critical thinking at the time told me there's an opportunity to provide a better service here in the fitness industry. And for some, it may have seemed obvious after the fact, but as I was going through the process, the most common comment that I received in the early days was, "This is such a great idea. I never thought of that." Right? So people were living with the pain points as if that was just the reality that they had to live in. And that wasn't the case. And so my critical thinking about what my experience was weighed against what it could be is ultimately what led to Rack's creation today. And so if you have those thoughts in whatever spaces you're passionate about, don't undervalue those. Second part of your means is what you know. Every experience that we have, positive or negative, has value in it. And those experiences shape your knowledge base. An extension of who you are is what you know, by learnings through your critical thinking and your way of perceiving things. So every person is unique, and what you learn and what you know through your experiences is just as unique, right? So for RAC, most people knew that there was opportunity for a new business. As I said, they were kind of living with the circumstances that were in front of them, but didn't necessarily tie that to creating a new opportunity. With that said, what gave me an advantage was what I knew through my experiences as a high school and collegiate athlete on the East Coast. And then pursuing to be a professional athlete. Though I fell short, I was able to gain some experiences that helped me build a knowledge base that allowed me to take those things and apply them to my idea, right? So I took facility designs, equipment layout, programming mix, culture of a business. I took those experience and learnings and applied them to my venture, which became RAC. And the combination of these learnings from multiple places into one space has created something special. And we're all really proud to be a part of it. Third aspect of your means is who you know. As I started with, nobody reaches lofty goals by themselves. We all need support and at least one person to believe in us. Now, going out and asking for help can be scary because you're putting yourself out there. But something that we all need to keep in mind is you cannot have entrepreneurial success without getting outside of your comfort zone. All right. I think of the phrase high risk, high reward. And that includes your networks. So don't be afraid to try and connect with people with different experiences from you, different backgrounds, and different means than you. Because as you develop those relationships, their means will then become your means, right? To kind of cap this and underline, I do understand, and I'm sure we all understand, that rejection is scary and unpleasant, but it's also inevitable, not just in entrepreneurship, but in achieving, goals that are worth striving for. So we can't be afraid to be rejected. We can't be afraid to quote unquote fail. It just allows us to learn, add to our means, and we have to have the strength and resiliency to continue to pursue our goals, because that's the only way we're going to reach them. Most important thing that I did in creating RAC is convincing a bunch of smart people, quite frankly, smarter than me, that my idea was worth working hard for. And I was able to do that through reaching out to people and through getting outside of my comfort zone. And today I have a team of support that help me find solutions to problems, not just at RAC, but in life. The larger your network, the larger your means. The larger your means, the better able you are to turn your dreams into a reality. Your means will help you execute against all the advice and guidance given today. So just to cap off on some concrete pieces of advice, use Cornerstone Alliance and use the Women's Business Center. They're clearly here to support you. Use Dathan Lumpkins. I hope it's okay to share this, but my office happens to be next door to Dathan's. So if you want to come spend some time with me, and I can hopefully help you bridge a gap on getting a venture launched. Dathan can help you make sure that you maximize, the time and efforts for wealth, not just for you, but for your family and generations to come. Go to networking events, tap into your means. And then also I would like to share one book. It's called Business Model Canvas. And Business Model Canvas will take you through the various business model types and the key parts of each in an easy to read format with a variety of examples. And it also is consistently updated to stay up to date with new business models and emerging industries. So your Ubers, your businesses that are built off of, social networks, those things are now incorporated into the business model canvas. And so, as Vonetta and some other folks were talking about, building a business plan and some of the different things that you'll need, to be compliant, whether it's state, or otherwise, the Business Model Canvas can really help you get started down that path. And on that note, I'd like to turn it back to Brandon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sean. That just made me think about our conversation that we had about getting out of your comfort zone. And if you're in an environment that you can't control, whether it's like family or friends or spouse, that you feel that it's an environment that's toxic and they don't believe in you or don't share your vision or your goals, find a new network. Go out. If you're in Benton Harbor, cross that river. If you're in St. Joseph, cross the river. And there are people who are just like you out there. Reach out to people, ask for help. We can help you as well too, because we do have a lot of different programs and also networking events as well too that we're putting together. And so that's some really good information, because at the end of the day, we see a lot of successful men and women out there, and they seem to be on the throne, so to speak. But just know that only because their name might be in the front, one name, right? Maybe Brandon, maybe on the front of everything. They didn't do it by themselves. It took a village. And so that's some great points that you brought up, Sean. So with that being said, are there any questions, any comments? Those who are in attendance, if you like, you can put your comments in the chat box, or if you want, you can raise your hand. I can call on you as well, whichever one makes you comfortable. You're welcome. Thank you very much, Christina. Thank you, Desiree. Thank you for being on the call. Any questions? Any comments? Anyone wants to be seen on camera? We're doing this Facebook Live. Hi, Erica. Thank you. I have a question to ask her.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say I'll show my face.
Go
Thank
for it.
you all.
Go.
Thank you all so much. All of you. I mean, you each shared different perspectives that were very helpful. So I'm very appreciative. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. And if there's anyone else who like to, share their video and speak up or audio, please do. Just jump in here. This is a virtual town hall, so to speak. We're open to comments, suggestions, questions.
Can I just tap in here to highlight something that Laura said about the sustainability of our community being, what they say, rising tide lifts all boats. Mm-hmm. And our region as a whole relies on the success of all of our communities and all of the people in our communities. So that what you just said about, if you're in St. Joe, go across the bridge into Benton Harbor. If you're in Benton Harbor, come across the bridge to St. Joe is so critical. And just, all of us getting to know each other and supporting one another is the key to our success altogether. So thank you very much. This was a great, great presentation.
Thank you very much, Kim, as well too, for being involved and giving us your time this afternoon, as well as all the others who are part of this meeting. But I also will be remiss if I did not mention South Harbor Country, Cass County, Van Buren County, South Haven. What we want to do is make sure that we're drawing bridges and connecting this entrepreneur ecosystem and supporting each other as well too. And sometimes it takes a big picture approach to expansion, and you might find opportunities just a county over. And so we do encourage that. working together with different businesses across Southwest Michigan. Daniel, did you have a question up there, Daniel? So your hand's been raised for a little while. Daniel, did you have a question? Got to unmute yourself. You got to unmute. Got to unmute. There you go, Daniel.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Yes. Thank you for being so patient.
Oh, no, at this point, I really don't have any questions. I mean, when I say that, I don't have any questions, there's always questions. But what's pending, I guess, is more of what I'm trying to say. We here at Rover Security is a small company, and we have been in business since 1986. And so we do security probably throughout Southwestern Michigan with a few trips over into the Detroit area. So I don't have, if this service was available to us back in 86, it would have been the most joyful thing in the world. Because what you went over was the things that we were suffering from the most. Everything that I've heard, everything that others have done, it would have been like a shortcut to getting us up to where we are now. I mean, we know that there's continuous improvement. There is no doubt about it. And that's what we're trying to do. But it has been a tough road getting from that time period up to now, because it was very difficult back in those days to get a Black security company into Benton Harbor. You know, back in those days, the crime rate was kind of high, and now you're going to tell the people that you're going to be working for, you've got a group of minorities coming in to watch over your stores or be in your jewelry store overnight. It was a lot to do, but fortunately enough, we sort of made it through. And I'm still interested in the finances and how you go about it. I have a BS degree in manufacturing engineer, so I'm a pretty good engineer, but I'm not an accountant. And so those guys, I do have a CPA that I talk to kind of constant, but we don't go into those areas like what you are mentioning, and that too, taking notes and saying, hey, this is something I should have been looking at all along, but never really came to it. So, but yes, and Margaret Adams, I've known her for a long time, and I've talked to her about it and several other people there about different things. And so your organization has been a great help. As a matter of fact, people often ask me about starting business, and that's the first place I tell them to go. Don't go anywhere else. Stop. Go there. Talk to the people there, so you can get it started on with a good, solid background. Because most of us jump out into business and we have no idea about what we're getting into. We have good plans and we have good thoughts, but that business knowledge is not there. And one of our biggest problems is we forget to pay the tax man, which often gets us into trouble. And we often look at, sometimes you can't pay yourself before you pay everybody else. You got to look at, getting these things done. Again, these are some of the things that we experience coming along. believe me, it was a bumpy road. And so we have finally got over most of those hurdles, but we still have a few hurdles to go.
Thank you very much, Daniel. That, what you mentioned, I do want to share that, the financial piece and accounting piece, the WBC most definitely can still help you or assist you in that area. Kristen Pat's here, who's our WBC manager. She's very strong in the financial side of things, small business accounting. And if we can't help you, we have a network of businesses that we work with that we can help facilitate and connect you with them to help you as well too. And then you also mentioned something that kind of goes back to what Sean referred to in his book, Business Model Canvas. So what we've implemented at the WBC is a version of Business Model Canvas, which we call the Lean Canvas. And so it is an exercise that helps businesses or entrepreneurs who may have an idea, or you're already in business and you have a new product, to help guide you in developing that product, asking you about, what's the problem, what are the solutions, to see if this business is feasible for the market. But then the most important piece is the customer discovery, where you go out and you connect with potential customers and get their feedback on this business. Because we want to make sure that before, and I feel your pain, because I remember starting my business over 10 years ago and didn't know that we even had a WBC in my own backyard back in Arkansas, or SBA, SCORE, all of that was there. And I just started it. And had I known, I would have been living in the offices of the WBC and they would have got tired of seeing me. But we want to make sure that businesses don't just start. We want to make sure those businesses are sustainable and they continue to scale so that we can help them make impact in our community. And so thank you very much for that.
Thank you guys for asking us to come.
Yeah, you're welcome. Keon, I think you had a comment or something you wanted to ask or say. And Desiree, your question about, there are WBCs in California. If you are from California, live in California, let us know where you're from in the chat box. Keon, did you have a question or comment? Okay, so I would like to just move forward with, first off, just thanking everybody for their time. South Central, okay.
Hello.
Sean, you might have to connect with them when you're back out west.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Be happy to support them.
Also, just want to let you all know, we will be sending these slides to you, all the resources that our panelists have mentioned during this presentation. This will be sent to you via email, as well as their contact information. If you want to meet with Dathan to have a one-on-one session, or myself, please do reach out to us. We can certainly help you. And so be looking out for that information, as well as they're going to be a survey. We want to get your feedback. Let us know how this experience was for you. Let us know, what we should do better as far as doing programs such as this. We want to hear from you. But last but not least, I do want to just mention to you all just some of the resources. The WBC is more than just an organization you come to get one-on-one business counseling and things like that. We do provide several different resources and programs as well. And so I want you all just to share with you all the Cornerstone's website, cornerstonewbc.com, especially if you want to just follow us, register for some more upcoming events. Also WBC's Facebook page, which is WBC at Cornerstone Alliance, where we're constantly sending information on some upcoming programs, financial resources as well. So do follow us there. This is a very important piece. Cornerstone Alliance has a business development team who can also help you in the area of services such as real estate, locating real estate. We've had businesses that have been looking to scale their businesses. And so with that being said, you can reach out to us and we connect you to our business development team who can better assist you in that area. Some more things that we do have a client directory on our website. So if you're looking for some leads, please do go to our client directory. Also, we're looking for Black-owned businesses who would like to be a part of our client directory. We are developing a list of different businesses, including Black-owned businesses in the area. So please do reach out to us and give us your information so that we can add you to our list as we're getting ready to launch that portion of our website. Also, we're looking for new businesses to do business with from a supplier standpoint. Also, facilitators who can teach classes in different areas such as accounting, marketing, different financial services. So if you're interested in that, please do submit an application through our RFP and RFQ website. We do provide ribbon cuttings for our clients. If you started a business, if you're a WBC client, you started a business, we can help assist you with ribbon cuttings and shining light on you. Another piece that I don't have on here, we do have small business success stories and spotlights that we do on our Facebook page. Also radio, the Coast Radio program where we feature some of our WBC clients. Also, we have some other resources, SBA.gov, if you want to know what are some financial funding programs that's out there. Go to SBA.gov. Also, there's a new program called SBA's Ascent to help you with the feasibility of your business. Also, there's a lot of different resources on, market research analysis, as well as different exercises to help you to be self-sufficient in your business, to help you to grow your business. Interested in grants, go to grants.com, grants.gov. I do like to mention that we do not provide grants at the WBC, nor does the SBA from that standpoint for businesses who are starting or expanding. Now, there are programs out there for those who are looking to stay in business. So I do want to mention blackbiz.helloalice.com is a resource page that has a lot of the Black business funding programs, networking programs, crowdfunding resources, one-stop shop for all of that. Go there. Also, another piece, go to michigan.gov if you have not made your business legit. We found during the pandemic that a lot of businesses struggled with getting financing through the government for relief because they were not legally registered through the state of Michigan. So please do get registered through the state. Go to michigan.gov. Also, I Fund Women is a program it's a resource for women looking for funding, networking opportunities as well. One-stop shop, also for women of color. They have some programs on there as well too. Also, Facebook.com, Elevate, some webinars, information on some of the upcoming events, and also webinars and guides to help you utilize Facebook as a tool for marketing. I most definitely have to mention some books that I believe they have been helpful for me as an entrepreneur and also as a counselor. Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice is an important book, or you can also just read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster, Start with Why, and Think Like a Monk for those who's looking for self-development improvement. Upcoming events, we want to see you. If you or somebody want to be onboarded and become a new client of the WBC, it's important that you attend our Learn, Know, Grow Introduction to Small Business Services, June 22nd at 3 p.m. Also on June 28th at 12 p.m. We have Marketing Mondays, a program on virtual marketing tools and strategies to help you. So we will be focusing on registering your business on Google. We have a marketing expert who's going to be teaching you how to do so. And at the end, you will be a step closer to getting your business connected on Google so you can help grow your business and stay connected with those who are coming in and out of Southwest Michigan looking for businesses to frequent. That is a $10 event. It's a virtual program, so it's only $10 for you to attend that. Please go to our website or go to our Facebook page to register for those. Okay, last but not least, we are supported partially by the SBA as well as funders here in the area and investors. If you like what you've experienced and what the WBC does, we're able to provide these programs for free or a little to no cost because of our funders. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor or an investor, or you know someone who is, please reach out to Christina Frank, who is our Vice President of External Affairs. Her information is in front of you. We will be sending this information to you. Please do continue to spread the word about the WBC and Cornerstone Alliance. If you want to get started, we'll be sending you information on how to contact myself or Kristen. And so we do appreciate you for your time. If you have any questions, feel free to email us. Look forward to helping you going forward and supporting you along your entrepreneurial journey from the startup to growth. Thank you all very much and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Brandon.
You're welcome. Thank you to
Thank
all
you.
our panelists.
Thank you all.